Hello, welcome back to Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem. Today's true story is going to be about David Glatzel, a little boy who will claim to be possessed by multiple demons. Now, before I continue with this story, I have to give a disclaimer because unfortunately, this little boy does sustain some injuries. Now, David Glatzel and his family moved to Connecticut in seek of finding a better home. They just had a new addition to their family and they was seeking for more rooms, more space. So while they're moving in, they had already signed the lease and everything. They're bringing in their cleaning products and all of their furniture. And Judy, David's mom, she says, David, why don't you go run around and, give the place a test run and pick a room out? So David does. He goes from the kitchen to the living room, the dining room. He makes his way upstairs and he makes it to the first room and he decides he doesn't like that room. So then he goes to the second room and he's like, not really my style. And then he goes to the third room. And then he's like, yeah, this is a cool room. I could put a baseball poster right there. And maybe a basketball one right there. Maybe, get a little small size trampoline to jump around in the corner. And while he's just sitting back imagining how his new room is going to be, all of a sudden, he hears the voice of an old man telling him to get out of his house. So the little boy, David, he just stops. He's like, hello? Is anyone there? And he's turning around and he doesn't see anyone. Then all of a sudden, a force just pushes him on the floor, he says. And he just hauls ass and runs downstairs. So instantly he's like, Mom, Dad, we have to get out of here. This old man just pushed me. And the mom and dad is like, wait, what? Old man just pushed you. There's no one here. So they go upstairs. They go, check out the house, check out the room. They're like, oh, David, you and your imagination. And they didn't believe him. So the little boy's scared. Now he's trying to convince his parents, please, I don't want to live here. And the parents are just like, little boy's imaginations. Maybe he just doesn't want to move away from his friends. And maybe he just doesn't want to transfer schools. So he's trying to make up this story about ghosts. So they didn't believe him. They continued to move into this house. So as soon as they move into this house, the very first night, David could not sleep because he knows what's going to happen. Like the whole time he had been hearing this old man's voice right along with other like little voices that he couldn't understand. They were speaking in all these different languages, saying that if he continued to live there and he wouldn't move, that they were going to kill him. They're going to kill his family. And every time David would bring this to his parents' attention or to his sister's Debbie's attention, his sister's Debbie, which she was an older big sister, they simply would not believe him. His sister just thought he was just had this wild imagination, and the parents just simply thought he just didn't want to live there. So later that night, while David fell asleep, the old man or some entity, the little boy says, gets to strangling him and gets to scratching him up. And so he goes to his mom's and dad's room and he shows them these bruises and these scratch marks. And they're instantly, David, why did you do this to yourself? And then they ask the sister, did you do this to your brother? And she's like, no, I haven't even been in his room. And the boy's like, Mom, Dad, I didn't do this to myself. The old man said if we don't get out of this house, he were going to kill us. And the mom and dad, they're just like all passive, like, we're not going to believe you. Just go to your room. You're making stuff up. You're going to get grounded. And the little boy, he's upset because he's like, I don't know what to do. My parents don't believe me. My sister don't believe me. Everyone just thinks I'm crazy. So the little boy, he goes to his room and he leaves his lamp on. And all of a sudden, his lamp just shut off. And then his covers just threw over his head, and he's kicking and he's screaming. His parents, they run down to the room. David, get from up under there. And so they make him lay in the bed with them for the night, and everything stops. So The next day goes on, and David, he doesn't want to play inside the house. But it's raining out, and he has to stay in, so he's like really being nonchalant about going into his room, but it doesn't matter which part of this house he goes in. This old man, he says, was able to connect with him and put his hands on him and make him do and say all these crazy things. Like, sources say that one day the parents were just like waking up, getting ready to go downstairs and make breakfast. And David was like already sitting at the kitchen table. His eyes were like dark underneath, like he hasn't been asleep for days. And he was looking at the other chair across from him, and the chair was kind of like, wasn't pushed in, but kind of, toward him, as if someone else was there talking to him. And David was like talking in some odd language that they never heard before. And when the mom went to put her hand on David's shoulder, the little boy just jumped and just started screaming at her. Like, oh my goodness, I would have freaked out. I would have instantly took my baby to the doctor or something, because obviously if your child is waking up with bruises and scratches, and your husband is laying there next to you and the daughter's in the bed, what other explanation is that? Either he's doing that to himself or something else is happening. So the little boy consistently tells his parents, we shouldn't be here. Mom and Dad, I don't feel good. I feel like something is growing inside of me. I want to get out of here. And the parents, they're not listening. So all of a sudden, David just started acting out more and more, started attacking his parents, started lashing out, like doing all these weird moves and stuff, and just quoting scriptures that a boy his age should never know about, saying biblical stuff and demonic stuff that he should never know about, like thousands and thousands of year-old passages that this boy should never knew about. And his parents had no recollection of these languages either. So the parents are like, finally, they're at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. Every day their son wakes up, he's waking up with a new battle scar. Someone has been putting their hands on their son. And I know in the middle of the night, the mom and the dad are probably looking at each other like, I'm gonna look to see if you finna get out the bed and if you've been the one in there abusing our son. And the mom is probably like looking at the dad like, if you move, I'm moving too. So I know they're probably, at each other's throats, but within themselves, because they don't want to, man, very confusing. I don't know. I'll be so messed up in the head if I was a parent. So the parents, they finally believe their son, because they know that there's no one else in the household who could be doing this to this little boy. So they take the boy to the doctor, and the doctor is like raising his eyebrow like, wait a minute. Demons, ghosts doing this to your son? No, someone in this house is doing this to your son. So they don't want to get police involved. And so like the little boy David is just like, okay, well, I hurt myself, I fell or whatever. Because at first the little boy was saying that ghosts were doing this, but the doctor was like literally looking at the mom and dad like, it's either he's crazy or y'all are making him say these things. So the parents are like, we're at our wits' end. No one will believe us. Our next best thing is to go to the pastor and find out what information he can give us to correct this situation. So they go to the pastor, and the pastor comes out, and the pastor, he instantly, he takes a look at the house, and he's like, I can't help you guys. We no longer do exorcism, and we no longer, come into people's homes and pray and do the whole holy water thing and everything. All that stuff is basically outdated, and that was years and years ago when we used to do stuff like that. So the Glatzers, they get in contact with Ed and Lorraine. Ed and Lorraine was said to be known like this really popular couple who could see ghosts and who can read spirits and talk to the other side and everything. And if you remember, if you watch the Conjuring, all the Conjuring movies, Ed and Lorraine also were like those fictional characters in there. But in real life, they actually really do exist. So they were like ghost hunters, and they were like expel ghosts from people's lives and their homes and stuff like that. But yeah, so they got in contact with Ed and Lorraine, and when Ed and Lorraine made it there, Ed instantly, when he met David, he was like, "Oh no, this boy is not only possessed by one demon, he's possessed by at least 40 demons." Oh, when I would have heard that, I would have lost my mind. Like, oh, 40? So not just one. So our son is infested. So they instantly, they get to putting the moves on the boy, trying to exert this demon from this boy, and nothing's working. So Ed and Lorraine, they tell Judy, we're going to have to go to the priest. And, Judy is like, well, I already tried that. They turned me down. And Lorraine is like, I got this. I got the word in with them. So she goes to the priest, and instantly they automatically start planning exorcism. Unfortunately, the first exorcism does not work out. The second one does not work out. And the third one ends up working. But by then, because Judy has a boyfriend named Arnie Johnson. Arnie Johnson, he loved little David like he was a little brother. And he could not stand all of this pain and torment that little David was going through. It bothered him. And he would do whatever it took to be able to take the pain off of David. He would even place the pain upon himself because he loved him so much. So during this third exorcism, Arnie happened to be there with Judy this night. And Arnie, he's frustrated. He's telling the demons, you can come and you can live in within me, and just please leave David alone. I'll do whatever it takes. And then instantly they said the demons leaves little David. And then after that, Arnie, he starts feeling sick. So days and days go by. And Ed and Lorraine, they keep a close eye on Arnie because they heard Arnie speak those words and make that pact with the devils or whatever. So they're like, wait a minute, those demons didn't just vacate like that without trying to pick another host or starting another ruckus. They had to went somewhere. And lately, Arnie has not been looking well. So eventually, eventually Debbie, which is David's older sister, she and Arnie, they, move into their own apartment and everything. And Judy, she's working at this kennel. She's grooming dogs, and she's, adopting out pets for other people, who doesn't have pets. Sorry. So she's working there and everything. And then one day, a few of Debbie's family members comes by because they love to come by and they like to see the lovely animals. And also Arnie comes by. He's there, but he's still not really feeling good. David's also there. He's ghost free. Nothing is bothering him lately. And they're all just there, playing with the pets and stuff. But unfortunately, Debbie's boss, he has an alcohol problem. And Debbie has a little cousin there. She's 9 years old. And every time he would get drunk, he'll get too touchy-feely with her. And thankfully, Arnie was there to stand in the way and prevent some things from happening. But unfortunately, things did not go well for the drunk, because as soon as he gets up to dance, he grabs the little girl's arm and he drags her in, trying to pull her in, trying to dance with her. And Debbie's like, please just let her go. Let's just let her go. Let us leave for the day. And the man is like persistent. He's like, no, y'all leave. She can stay here with me. And Arnie hears this, and he runs from the other end of the room, and he just immediately starts stabbing the guy in the stomach 5 times. So after that, he just drops the knife, covered in blood, and he just walks out of the door and walks into the woods. After he walks out of the woods, he goes into his house. He doesn't clean up the blood. He's just dazed. He comes outside. He just sits on his porch. The police doesn't have to chase him down. They doesn't have to look for him. They see him right there on the porch, plain as day. And they like, Arnie, the police were called. We have to take you in. We got word that you murdered someone. And then he's just still incoherent. He's not saying anything. He voluntarily went with the police officers, but he's still out of it. And the police are like looking him in his eyes, like he's not blinking, he's not moving, he's not saying anything. He willingly put his hands behind his back, everything. Didn't say anything. So when they finally made it down to the police station, he finally snapped out of it. And he's just like, wait, what am I doing here? What am I doing? And the police are like, what are you doing here? You're covered in blood. You killed someone. And he's like, wait, what? I killed someone? And he literally says that he did not remember killing anyone. So instantly he started saying, it was these voices. These voices made me do it. And sources say that when he would go to his cell at night, they would hear him screaming from his cell in different languages that no one could understand. And sometimes they will hear 7 voices, 6, 7 voices at one time. Now imagine how something like that would sound. Oh my goodness, I would freak out. I would hate to have to share a cell with him. No. But this is no laughing matter. This is a true story. But moving forward, so as they're going through the whole trial situation, Ed and Lorraine, they're like, no, we can't have him plead guilty because he's not guilty. He was possessed. And not just that, Ed and Lorraine were also mad at Arnie because they're like, well, it's your fault that the demons got into you because you were taunting them. That's one thing you do not do. When we're having an exorcism or when we're trying to expel a bad spirit out of someone, you don't talk to it and tell the demon or the spirit that you can come and dwell into the house within yourself. That's not what you do because they're going to come freely. You're not putting up a fight. So they blamed him for this and they were upset, but at the same time, they did not turn their back on him. They continued to help him in his time of need, and they went to court. And this was the only case that has ever, not the only case, but the very first case to ever make it into a court system from someone saying that they were possessed by demons. Well, now so far today, we have other people who has went to court and claimed that they were possessed or the devil made me do it. But this guy, Arnie Johnson, is the reason why they came out with the saying, the devil made me do it. So, but yeah, so they took it to court and they tried that attempt, and the judge just simply would not go for it. He's like, I'm not gonna go for it. I'm not even gonna put, just affiliate my courtroom with that type of nonsense. If he did it, he did it. You're gonna have to bring me some proof that shows that he was possessed. Do you have it on camera? Do you have any witnesses? But the only witnesses they had was David and his parents and Debbie and and Arnie's family. Those were the only people in Lorraine and Ed. So those are not enough people, and they still want that visual proof. And there's no one's head spinning around in a circle, and no one's throwing out green vomit in the courtroom that day. So there's no levitations or anything, or no big fiery pits of hellfire popping out of the freaking courtroom floor. So the judge is like, no, I'm not going for it. So eventually they end up changing their plea from demonic possession to manslaughter, and that didn't fly by the court. So then after that, they end up switching that from manslaughter to self-defense, stating that the guy was going to attack or was attacking the little girl. And yeah, and they also may have said that he was suffering from like mental illnesses and stuff like that, but they simply would not let that whole demonic possession thing fly in court. But they tried it though. So Arnie was originally sentenced to 20 years in prison for this, but he only ended up doing like 5.5 years of his term. Lorraine and Ed, they went on to write books and inspired Conjuring movies and Annabelle and other movies. So Arnie's brother, he was kind of upset because he wasn't getting any money from these deals. So he would go and like talk to reporters and be like, oh, Lorraine and Ed, they're frauds, and nothing was wrong with my brother. Everyone already knew that my brother had mental illnesses when he was a little boy. But then Arnie was like, no, that's not true. Lorraine and Ed, they are telling the truth. I was possessed. No one knows what I was going through but me, and they helped me. So, with that being said, I don't know how I quite feel about stuff like that, because at the end of the day, this is a very old world. And who are we to say what exists and what does not exist? And no matter where you move, there's always a story in that area. Right now, there's people's properties built on top of Indian burial grounds and things where voodoo and all different type of witchcrafts and stuff and evil entities and stuff and everything. Things that just does not or should not exist. But unfortunately, where you have good, there is also evil in this world too. There's a heaven and there's a hell. So who are we to say that these people did not actually experience this? Well, with that being said, till next time, join me on Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem. See you again next week, Thursday. Thanks, like and subscribe, and have an awesome day.